The Śūraṅgama Sutra, Volume 2, 25. How can we say that the nature of that mind of yours plays the part of host, since everything perceived by it can be returned to something else? Ananda said, if every state of our mind can be returned to something else as its cause, then why does the wonderful, bright, original mind mentioned by the Buddha return nowhere? We only hope that the Buddha will empathize with us and explain this for us. The Buddha said to Ananda, as you now look at me, the essence of your seeing is fundamentally bright. Although that seeing is not the wonderful essential brightness of the mind, it is like a second moon, rather than the moon's reflection. Listen attentively, for I am now going to explain to you the concept of not returning to anything. Ananda, this great lecture hall is open to the east. When the sun rises in the sky, it is flooded with light. At midnight, during a new moon, or when the moon is obscured by clouds or fog, it is dark. Looking out through open doors and windows, your vision is unimpeded. Facing walls or houses, your vision is hindered. In such places where there are forms of distinctive features, your vision is causally conditioned. In a dull void, you can see only emptiness. Your vision will be distorted when the objects of seeing are shrouded in dust and vapor. You will perceive clearly when the air is fresh. Ananda, observe all these transitory characteristics as I now return each to its source. What are their sources? Ananda, among these transitions, the light can be returned to the sun. Why? Without the sun, there would be no light. Therefore, the cause of light belongs with the sun, and so it can be returned to the sun. Darkness can be returned to the new moon. Penetration can be returned to the doors and windows, while obstruction can be returned to the walls and eaves. Conditions can be returned to distinctions. Dull devoid can be returned to emptiness. Darkness and distortion can be returned to mist and haze. Bright purity can be returned to freshness, and nothing that exists in this world goes beyond these categories. To which of the 8 states of perception would the essence of your seeing be reducible? Why do I ask that? If it returned to brightness, you would not see darkness when there was no light. Although such states of perception as light, darkness, and the like differ from one another, your seeing remains unchanged. That which can be returned to other sources clearly is not you. If that which you cannot return to anything else is not you, then what is it? Therefore I know that your mind is fundamentally wonderful, bright, and pure. You yourself are confused and deluded. You abuse what is fundamental and end up undergoing the cycle of rebirth, bobbing up and down in the sea of birth and death. No wonder the Tathagata says that you are the most pathetic of creatures. Ananda said, although I recognize that the seeing nature cannot be traced back to anything, but how can I come to know that it is my true nature? The Buddha told Ananda, now I have a question for you. At this point you have not yet attained the purity of no outflows. Blessed by the Buddha's holy strength, you are able to see into the first jhana heavens without any obstruction. Just as Aniruddha looks at Jambudvipa with such clarity as he might at an amala fruit in the palm of his hand, bodhisattvas can see hundreds of thousands of realms. The Tathagatas of the 10 directions see everything throughout Pure Lands as numerous as atoms of universe. By contrast, ordinary being's sight does not extend beyond a fraction of an inch. Ananda, as you and I now look at the palace where the 4 heavenly kings reside, and inspect all that moves in the water, on dry land, and in the air, some are dark and some are bright, varying in shape and appearance, and yet all of these are nothing but the dust before us, taking solid form only through our own distinction-making. Among them you should distinguish which is self and which is other. I ask you now to select from within your seeing which is the substance of the self and which is the appearance of things. Ananda, if you take a good look at everything everywhere, within the range of your vision extending from the palaces of the sun and moon to the 7 gold mountain ranges, all that you see is phenomena of different features and degrees of light. At closer range you will gradually see clouds floating, birds flying, wind blowing, dust rising, trees, mountains, streams, grasses, seeds, people and animals, all of which are phenomena, but none of which are you. Ananda, all phenomena, near and far, have their own nature. Although each is distinctly different, they are seen with the same pure essence of seeing. Thus all the categories of phenomena have their individual distinctions, but the seeing nature has no differences. That essential, wonderful brightness is most certainly your seeing nature. If seeing were a phenomenon, then you should also be able to see my seeing. If we both looked at the same phenomenon, you would also be seeing my seeing. Then, when I'm not seeing, why can't you see my non-seeing? If you could see my non-seeing, it clearly would not be the phenomenon that I am not seeing. If you cannot see my not seeing, then it is clearly not a phenomena. How could it not be you? Besides that, if your seeing of phenomena was like that, then when you saw things, things should also see you. With substance and nature mixed together, you and I and everyone in the world would no longer be distinguishable from each other. Ananda, when you see, it is you who sees, not me. The seeing nature pervades everywhere. Whose is it if it is not yours? Why do you have doubts about your own true nature, and come to me seeking verification, thinking your nature is not true? Ananda said to the Buddha, Bhagavan, given that this seeing nature is certainly mine and no one else's, when the Tathagata and I regard the hall of the 4 heavenly kings, with its supreme abundance of jewels, or stay at the palace of the sun and moon, this seeing completely pervades the lands of the Saha world. Upon returning to this sublime lecture hall, the seeing only observes the monastic grounds, and once inside the pure central hall, it only sees the eaves and corridors. Bhagavan, that is how the seeing is. At first its substance pervaded everywhere throughout the one realm, but now in the midst of this room it fills one room only. Does the seeing shrink from great to small, or do the walls and eaves press in and cut it off? Now I do not know where the meaning of this lies, and hope the Buddha will extend his vast compassion and proclaim it for me thoroughly.